Welcome to Max Premieres. This month arrives with a lineup that has no weak spots. Cult horror in shopping malls, explosive sequels that have been years in the making, heartbreaking dramas, science fiction filmed in IMAX, and the most ambitious family fantasy of the year. Today we're going through the 10 most important releases of March, from number 10 all the way down to number 1. Completely different films from each other, but all with one thing in common. You have to watch them. But before we start the video, it would mean a lot if you took a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Number 10. Scream 7. Sidney Prescott thought it was all over. After surviving Ghostface on multiple occasions, she built a quiet life in Pine Grove, far from everything. She has a daughter, Tatum, and for the first time in decades, she feels like the danger is behind her. Then Ghostface comes back. A new killer emerges in her own town, and this time the target is the person she loves most. What makes this 7th installment special is the return of Neve Campbell as Sydney after her absence in the 6th film due to a salary dispute. Courtney Cox and David Arquette also return, along with Matthew Lillard in a role whose nature is still under wraps. The director is Kevin Williamson, the original creator of the franchise, who writes and directs for the first time in the saga. Isabel May from Yellowstone plays Sydney's daughter, and Joel McHale appears as her husband. If the trailer is any indication, this installment has a lot of the DNA of the first film. Real suspense, characters we've known for 30 years, and a ghost face that feels genuinely threatening. Pre-sales suggest it could be the best box office debut in the entire franchise's history. Number 9. Forbidden Fruits. Apple works at Free Eden, a clothing store in a shopping mall that looks like it came straight out of a millennial dream. Linen garments, crystals, essential oils, and a wellness guru aesthetic. What nobody knows is that Apple, after the doors close, goes down to the basement with her co-workers Cherry and Fig to celebrate the rituals of their witch cult. Everything runs perfectly until Pumpkin arrives, a new employee who starts asking questions she shouldn't. Director Meredith Alloway makes her feature-length debut with a completely unique visual style that blends cult horror with a critique of performative wellness culture. The film had its world premiere at the SXSW Festival before hitting theaters. The cast brings together some of the most interesting actresses working right now. Lily Reinhardt as Apple, Victoria Pedretti as Cherry, Alexandra Shipp as Fig, Lola Tung as Pumpkin, and Gabrielle Union in a supporting role. Emma Chamberlain also appears in her acting debut. It's strange, stylized, and completely unexpected. It might be too weird for some tastes, but if you like films that don't look like anything you've seen before, this one has all the makings. Number 8. Hoppers. A group of scientists discovers how to transfer human consciousness into ultra-realistic robotic animal bodies, allowing people to communicate with animals as if they were one of them. Mabel is a teenager who loves animals and seizes that technology to slip into the body of a beaver and discover that the animal world is far more complex and vibrant than any human ever imagined. What starts as an adventure becomes a mission when she meets King George, the beaver leader, and together they have to stop the plans of Mayor Jerry Generazzo, a real estate developer threatening to destroy the habitat of hundreds of species. Pixar presents this as their 30th film, and the tone they're going for blends science fiction with adventure comedy in the style of Avatar and Mission. Impossible but for the whole family. It's directed by Daniel Chong, creator of We Bare Bears. The voice cast includes Piper Curda, Bobby Moynihan, John Hamm as the villain, and Meryl Streep as the Insect Queen. In a year where Pixar also has Toy Story 5, Hoppers arrives first with a completely original premise. Everything points to this being one of the surprises of the year. Number 7. The Magic Faraway Tree. A modern family goes through a financial crisis and is forced to move to the English countryside. The parents are stressed, the 3 kids don't want to be there, and everything feels like a disaster. But when the children explore the nearby forest, they discover something that shouldn't exist: a gigantic tree that reaches up into the clouds and has its own inhabitants. They meet Moonface, Silky, Dame Washalot, and the Saucepan Man, and discover that at the top of the tree there are portals to completely different lands, each with its own rules and dangers. The screenplay is by Simon Farnaby, the same writer behind Paddington 2 and Wonka, which already says a lot about the kind of humor and heart this film has. It's directed by Ben Gregor. The cast includes Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy as the parents, Nicola Coughlan as the fairy Silky, Rebecca Ferguson as the villain Dame Snap, and Jessica Gunning as Dame Washalot. The film is based on Enid Blyton's books, one of the best-selling children's series in British history. It has exactly the right balance between adult imagination and childlike wonder that makes these kinds of films work for the whole family. Number 6. They Will Kill You. A desperate woman answers a job listing to work as a housekeeper in a luxury high-rise in New York City. The building is imposing, the residents are eccentric, and everything seems too good to be true because it is. Before long, she starts discovering that this community has decades of unsolved disappearances, and that rumors point to a satanic cult operating from within. And then they tell her point blank, she is the next sacrifice. The building's rules are clear. If you live here, you pay with your life to maintain the community's power. What follows mixes visceral horror, dark comedy, and action that's been compared to Ready or Not and The Raid. It's directed by Kirill Sokolov, known for the Russian film Why Don't You Just Die, which has exactly that same DNA of over-the-top violence with black humor. The production is by Andy and Barbara Muschietti, the same duo behind IT and The Flash. Zazie Beetz leads the cast alongside Patricia Arquette, Myha'la, Tom Felton, and Heather Graham. The trailer turned Beetz into one of the most talked about action leads of the year, one of the most interesting horror bets of this first quarter. Number 5. Reminders of Him. Kenna made a mistake that cost her 7 years of her life. A car accident that killed her boyfriend Scotty sent her to prison, separating her from the daughter she'd had only a few months before she was arrested. Now she's free, back in the town where it all happened, with one single goal: to meet Diem, the daughter she was never able to raise. The problem is that the girl's grandparents, Scotty's parents, do everything in their power to keep them apart. The only person who gives her a chance is Ledger, a former NFL player who now runs a bar and had a close connection to Scotty. What starts as an uncomfortable alliance turns into something far more complicated. The film is based on Colleen Hoover's novel, which sold over 6 million copies in the United States and has been translated into 45 languages. Micah Monroe stars as Kenna, alongside Tyreek Withers as Ledger, Rudy Pankow as the ghost of Scotty, Lauren Graham and Bradley Whitford as the grandparents, and Lainey Wilson in her acting debut. Emotional, well-built, and with a premise that doesn't chase easy romance but something far more real and painful. For Colleen Hoover fans, this is the adaptation they've been waiting for. Number 4. Ready or Not 2. Here I Come. Exactly where the first one ended, that's where this one begins. Grace survived the Ladamus family, watched them explode at dawn, still wearing her blood-soaked wedding dress, and thought the nightmare was over. Seconds later, she wakes up, handcuffed to her younger sister, Faith, in the middle of a fog-covered golf course, and 4 black SUVs are closing in fast. The rules have escalated. It's no longer just one family hunting her, it's 4 powerful families competing for a throne of global control, and whoever kills Grace becomes the leader of everything. The lawyer, played by Elijah Wood, explains the rules with that unnerving calm that went viral in the trailer. Samara Weaving returns as Grace, alongside Katherine Newton as her sister Faith. The cast is reinforced by Sarah Michelle Gellar as the villain, David Cronenberg, Kevin Durand, and Nestor Carbonell. Directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette return with the same DNA of chaos, humor, and violence that made the original work. The official trailer racked up over 5 million views in a matter of days. Grace is done running. Now she's coming for everything. Number 3. The Bride. Chicago, the 1930s. A woman dies. But that's not the end. It's the beginning of everything. Frankenstein's monster, played by Christian Bale, convinces the eccentric doctor Euphronius to bring her back to life. And it works. The bride, played by Jessie Buckley, wakes up with no memories, no name, and no notion of who she was or what she's supposed to be now. What follows is a chase through jazz-era Chicago, complete with musical numbers, police pursuits, violence, and existential questions that have no easy answers. Maggie Gyllenhaal writes and directs with tremendous creative freedom. She blends classic noir with something entirely contemporary and builds a character who refuses to be defined solely in relation to the monster who wants her. The budget is around $80 million, and it was filmed entirely with IMAX-certified cameras. The cast also includes Penelope Cruz as a mysterious figure from the underworld, Annette Bening as the scientist, and Jake Gyllenhaal in a supporting role. Loosely inspired by the 1935 Bride of Frankenstein, with Maggie Gyllenhaal taking the story somewhere entirely her own. Bold, strange, and visually extraordinary. Number 2. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. 4 years after the end of the series, Tommy Shelby is back, not as the man who built a criminal empire from the ashes of Birmingham after World War I, but as someone completely broken. He lives alone in a large, silent mansion, medicating himself, with no contact with his family, in a kind of purgatory of his own making. Then the news arrives. His son Duke, played by Barry Keoghan, is running the Peaky Blinders like it's 1919 all over again, and he's gotten involved with a very dangerous fascist named Beckett, played by Tim Roth, who has deep connections to Nazism in the middle of World War II. Tommy has to come out of exile to save his son and literally his country. The setting is Birmingham in 1940, with the city being bombed and the war as an absolute backdrop. Cillian Murphy reprises the role that earned him worldwide recognition, alongside Rebecca Ferguson as a mysterious new character, Stephen Graham, Sophie Rundle, and Tim Roth. The screenplay is by original creator Stephen Knight, and it's directed by Tom Harper. The soundtrack features contributions from Nick Cave and Fontaine's DC. 4 years waiting for this return. By order of the Peaky Blinders. Number 1. Project Hail Mary. Ryland Grace wakes up alone on a spaceship almost 12 light years from Earth. He doesn't remember who he is, he doesn't know how he got there, and the other 2 members of his crew are dead. As his memories return in fragments, he pieces together the truth. He's a middle school science teacher turned emergency astronaut sent on a suicide mission because the sun is dying. An unknown microscopic substance called astrophage is consuming it and shutting it down, and if a solution isn't found, Earth will enter an ice age that will wipe out humanity within decades. Nobody expects him to come back. Then he discovers he's not alone in the universe. There's another ship nearby, and what comes next changes everything he thought he knew about the solution. The film is based on Andy Weir's novel, the same author behind The Martian, adapted by Drew Goddard, who also wrote that film. It's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, known for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Ryan Gosling stars as Ryland Grace. The cinematography is by Greg Fraser, Oscar winner for Dune, and it was filmed specifically for IMAX. The trailer accumulated over 400 million global views, making it the most watched trailer of the year for an original film. The science fiction everyone has been waiting for in 2026. And with that, we wrap up our countdown of the 10 most important films of March. A month that starts strong from the very first weekend and doesn't let up until the end. Cult horror in shopping malls, historic franchise comebacks, family fantasy, science fiction in IMAX, and one of the most anticipated original films of the year. There's something for every kind of viewer, and that's exactly what makes March one of the most exciting months at the box office. If the video helped you out, I'd love it if you left a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you in the next one.